So The Brink, which is a documentary by Alison Clayman, and I'm going to do this in a very it is a documentary about Steve Bannon and about what Steve Bannon did after leaving the White House. And the documentary follows him as he basically travels hither and yon, attempting to start and to organize what he himself describes as his own populist revolution, global revolution. And in doing so, he has meetings with and shares cozy space with a number of people who have affiliations to the far right, politicians, corrupt politicians, opportunistic millionaires, and Nigel Farage.
We're fire breathers. I mean, we're taking on the establishment every day. You've taken on the Tory party. I'm taking on the Republican Party. They don't have that, and that's why we can steal a march in them. And the reason they don't want to do it, it's immigration. As long as they don't take on the they just refuse to take on the immigration. We're prepared to take it on.
Yes.
It's a global revolt. It's a zeitgeist. We're on the right side of history, but it's going to need the motive power. And the thing that's missing is, that's what I'm really trying to put together now, is the ideas. The ideas have to come in more sharp focus. The economic ideas, the political ideas.
You've also moved, Steve, into a different place.
Yeah.
The minute you stood up on that stage in Alabama, you became a different figure.
Yeah.
You're in a different place now. You're not just fixing stuff and operating behind the scenes and making it happen.
Yeah.
You're now the face of it.
Can I make a comment?
You can.
Zeitgeist?
I know. Which one are you going with?
I mean, I'm picking on that as a
Yeah, I know. Straight to the heart of the periphery. But
has anyone ever said Zeitgeist ever? Anyway, carry on.
You see, one of the things here is that, it's to do with reviewing the film. Okay, so I think you can hear in that clip, one of the things that's really strange about it is how excited Nigel Farage seems to be in the company of Steve Bannon, nodding and saying, yes, yes. And it's like, it's really, really excited to be allowed to be in this space. And one of the things the documentary does is, I mean, Bannon, who is this kind of, flag waver for Trump, but who has been essentially removed from the Trump White House and referred to on Twitter by Trump as Sloppy Steve. So there is all this kind of slightly spurned, and yet it's okay, I'm championing it, and yet I'm spurned, and yet I'm championing it. What the documentary doesn't do is it doesn't ever interrogate Bannon and the company in which he finds himself on this populist project. That is left to the intervention of some journalists. And there is one particular interview in which a journalist really does take him to task and says, these people that you are consorting with, they are, basically crypto-fascists. They are people who are extremists. They are people who have appalling racist views. And I am not going to just let you brush that aside. But that is definitely not something that the documentary is doing. What the documentary is doing is kind of fly on the wall and standing back and letting the story tell itself. Also, there is I can imagine somebody watching it and being disarmed by how Steve Bannon seems to, he has this kind of chummy way of talking, and when people interrogate him strongly, he says, "Oh yeah, well done, that's great," he's kind of smiling. But I'm also reminded about those kind of phrases about, I mean, to me, what came across most was the banality of it all. And the banality of hearing somebody justifying themselves in a way that just seemed to be without substance, without anything other than, a rampant opportunism. So what the documentary does is it keeps its distance and it shows you this group of people and it connects them very specifically. It says, whatever your views are, you have to understand that these people are connected to these people and these people are connected through this, and this funding is happening that's backing that. And then it's just standing back and letting them all just have their say. And I think there is an assumption from the documentary about how viewers would feel about it. I mean, clearly, I have personal views about the subject matter, but without casting any judgment on the people in the documentary, I would say that my own opinion is that anything that promotes racism, far right extremism, is evil, and I think that evil can be banal.
So it was Susanna Reid, by the way, who's the journalist who takes him to task.
Yes, she does, but there is also there's two, in fact. Susanna Reid does, yes, very well, and then there is another one later on in a meeting.
So I haven't seen the film.
No.
Do you think that they've got that? Is that distance right? Are we happy with that distance?
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of it thinking that I wanted it to be more interrogative and being delighted when people actually did interrogate him. Did you ever see that film, The Last Supper?
Give me some.
Ron Perlman is this character who's kind of got all these sort of very, very right-wing views, and there's a group of students who invite him round to dinner. And during the dinner, he sort of smarms his way into there.
No,
and what's funny, and it's a very interesting film. And I have to say that Steve Bannon reminded me of Ron Perlman's character in The Last Supper. And all I'd like to say is, if you've seen The Last Supper, remember how that ended.
Is it worth going to the cinema to see?
I don't think it would lose a lot on the small screen.
Okay, I might wait then.